Shall we gather at the river, where bright angel feet have trod, with its crystal tide forever flowing by the throne of God? Amen. It's so good to have a friend like Peter here, Reverend Peter. We've known each other for almost 10 years now. We met in seminary. Here's the thing, people trying to become priests and going to seminary usually bring a lot of baggage with them. And so we know all of each other's secrets. We've seen each other at our best and at our worst, and we love each other all the same. And so when it came time for my husband Michael and I to get married, we were so honored to have Peter as one of our groomsmen. And knowing all that Peter knew about me and what little he knew about Michael at the time, at our wedding reception, Peter stood up and gave a toast and said, well, you all know that Zach might be the priest, but Michael is the saint. And his sainthood has only increased and increased. Last night, he and I, together with Marielle Glover and Julie and Steve Ross, actually spent the night in the church with our youth group, 7 teenagers having a Saints and Slumber sleepover in the church. And so I think I can feel the stigmata on my hands starting to emerge. I'm feeling a little bit closer to sainthood this morning, and Peter and Dean dropped by, and it was a wonderful time. But Michael is one of the saints in my life. He's so compassionate and generous and caring and loving and open-hearted, and I hope that each of you have someone like that in your life, whether it's a friend or a partner or a spouse or a teacher or a mentor or a leader or a celebrity, somebody who points you to that more excellent way, as the Apostle Paul once wrote. But what does it mean to be a saint? Really? Today is All Saints' Day, after all. Our siblings in the Roman Catholic Church have long had a very formalized and official process for beatification or canonization of saints, and the person had to be deceased. They had to have a reputation for living a holy and exemplary life. They had to have a few miracles or a couple miracles documented, attributed to their name. So again, with the Saints in Slumber, I feel like we've got one miracle documented. We're here. All these youth acolytes up here, up all night in the church and still showing up for worship. And so then they had to be approved by the Pope as well. Well, in the Episcopal Church, we've continued to name and celebrate modern-day saints, although our process is a little bit more flexible, not quite as strict and rigid. They still have to have lived a holy life and be respected and honored by the community and exhibit virtues such as joyousness, selflessness, service for the sake of Christ. And so we continue to remember saints in our calendar, modern-day saints like Martin Luther King Jr., like Polly Murray, the first African-American woman ordained here in the Episcopal Church. Saints like Jonathan Myrick Daniels, an Episcopal seminarian during the Civil Rights Movement who took a bullet for a young girl named Ruby Sales in Hayneville, Alabama. Saints. But apart from these superstars, apart from the marquee saints, there's a sense in which all the people of God are known as saints. The Apostle Paul today in Ephesians writes about the glorious inheritance among all the saints to which all Christian people are entitled. You and me. We, too, are saints. And so how very appropriate and fitting today that we would be dedicating this absolutely stunning new baptismal font where we will make some saints. This is where saints are made. We'll baptize 4 more today, and we hope that for generations to come, we will bring the saints of God to this font to be named, claimed, and marked by God's love. Thank you so much to Mel of Illumination Studios for this just absolutely stunning piece of liturgical furniture that we dedicate today in the name of beloved Francis of blessed memory, a saint of this church, died at an early age. And right here in the bronze bowl is inscribed the words, "You are my child, my beloved. With you I am well pleased." You are my child, my beloved. These were the words spoken over Jesus at his own baptism. In the River Jordan, when he went down into those waters and the Spirit of God came over him, and the voice from above declared, "You are my child, my beloved." Then you might remember later in his ministry, Jesus climbed up the mountain with Peter and James and John, and again, that same voice of God, "You are my beloved. With you I am well pleased." My friends, that is the voice declared by God over us at our baptisms as well. You are my beloved. With you I am well pleased. So we have the River Jordan. The Transfiguration, when Jesus went up to the mountain, is actually depicted in the mosaic of our apps. And the new baptismal font has this lovely blue color. I hope when you come forward for communion, you'll take a look. You might dip your hands into the water and make a sign of the cross to remember your baptism. But oftentimes we associate the waters of baptism, of course, with healing and cleansing and renewal. And sometimes we associate the waters of baptism with the vision and revelation of this great crystal clear river flowing from the throne of God, watering the tree of life with leaves for the healing of the nations. Oh, that beautiful, beautiful river. Well, here's the thing. That is not a description of the River Jordan where Jesus was baptized. If you've ever been to the Holy Land, you know the River Jordan is narrow, murky, muddy, unimpressive. To be honest, it's a little gross. You might want to make sure you have your vaccinations before you get in the River Jordan. And the River Jordan flows directly into the Dead Sea. And again, maybe not a popular opinion, but it's called the Dead Sea for a reason. Despite all the bath salts and facial masks and soaps and scrubs and all that business, it's said to have healing properties due to the salt content. Despite all that stuff, it's also pretty gross. Sludgy, slimy, almost toxic. It's called dead for a reason. And did you know that the shores of the Dead Sea, if you look at a topographical map of the planet, the shores of the Dead Sea are literally the lowest land elevation on the face of the earth. Now think about that. The voice of God over Jesus on mountain height and at the lowest point on the earth are exactly the same. In highs and in lows, you are my beloved. With you, I am well pleased. We can make some topographical observations about the Beatitudes today. All of these sayings, blessed are the poor, blessed are the hungry, blessed are the meek, blessed are the sorrowful. Here in Luke's gospel, it's known as the Sermon on the Plain. In Matthew's gospel, it's of course the Sermon on the Mount. Again, Jesus preaching the same sermon in different places. Just like a good bishop or traveling preacher, he had a few sermons that he really liked, and he recycled them a bit. It's because they're really good sermons. They're really good sermons. And they're not prescriptions. They're not to-do lists. They're descriptions of the world and of God's kingdom as it is. The point isn't, well, if I just make myself become poorer and hungrier and less popular and sadder, then maybe God will love me more. No, not at all. The Beatitudes recognize that the circumstances of life are so often beyond our control, and our circumstances can change on the dime. We can go from high to low in an instant. What we do have control over is the way that we respond to our circumstances and the way that we respond to our neighbors. And so Jesus sums up this whole sermon today with what? The golden rule. Do unto others as you would have done unto yourself. In a few moments, we're going to renew our baptismal covenant, and when it comes down to it, that is what it's all about. Do unto others as you would have done unto yourself. And so we come to these waters of baptism once more. We make some more saints. We sing our alleluias. I don't know what your spiritual topography looks like this morning. Maybe you're in a time of great joy and celebration on top of the mountain. Maybe you're on the plain. Maybe you're sitting at rock bottom. Maybe you're in that desert place, a place of dryness, a place of discernment, a place of distress. My prayer this morning is that somewhere deep in your soul, you would hear the voice of God over you, speaking, "You are my beloved, with you I am well pleased." We aren't saints because of the person that we're trying to become, the person we wish we were, the person we know that we never will be. We're saints of God because of who we are already. And true saints speak to that. That's the difference between a saint and an idol. Idols say, look at me, worship me. Idols take up space. Saints point to God. Saints become for us icons, mirrors in which we can see the face of God that resonates with the presence of God in us and calls us to our best selves, rooted in who we already are as beloved children of God. You are my beloved. With you, I am well pleased. So let's make some saints, shall we? Yes, we'll gather at the river, the beautiful river. Gather with the saints at the river.